from other people's activities and policies and models.
So we're really keen to be able to share some of our successes, particularly, I suppose, thinking, especially around some of the conversations that have been had so far at the conference around funding for National Youth Service. One of the models that we use is a match fund model, which has worked out incredibly well for us. It's every pound of investment that we get from the corporate sector, we can match it with a pound of investment from the public sector. And that's been a really fantastic incentive and a really great way to kind of encourage companies and businesses to come on board and support youth volunteering. But perhaps the most significant investment, certainly in the last decade prior to the creation of the was the Millennium Volunteer Programme. Some of you may be familiar with that programme. But essentially it gave young people aged 16 to 25 the opportunity to undertake volunteering or community action projects in projects across England, with the opportunity to work towards a certificate which would give them either 100-hour service rising to 200-hour service. Over 6,000 young people were consulted about their views on the future of youth volunteering. Third sector and public sectors were also involved, and business were also consulted. As a result of the commission, a report was produced which outlined kind of 16 recommendations to improve youth volunteering and to create a more appealing national framework in which more young people could get involved in service. The key recommendation was to establish an independent youth-led charity that would implement the new framework. The reason I think that the government accepted these recommendations and focused on the desire to create an independent charity was really based on feedback from young people, which said that if it was a government-led programme which was kind of telling them that they ought to get involved in service and that service was a good thing, that might actually instinctively be a turn-off for some young people who wouldn't necessarily want to do what the government thought they should be doing. So there was a view that really, if it was an independent charity, it could position itself to take more risks, to get alongside young people, to speak their language, to relate to them in a way that they understood. I think also, as I've mentioned before, that the desire to engage the private sector was also very strong. So having a new charity set up to kind of attract funding was also considered to be a good solution. So enabling a charity to kind of work directly with the corporate sector. So that led to the creation of VEE, which is the organisation that I'm now working for. And essentially, VEE was charged with creating a new national framework for youth volunteering. There were three specific aims to the framework, which was to create a step change in the quality, quantity and diversity of youth volunteering in England. Quality really related to well-managed, well-resourced volunteering opportunities, which had a positive impact both for the young volunteer but also for the community. Quantity related to the idea of having a mixed economy of opportunities, so having lots of different opportunities and a wide range of them which were universally available to young people and accessible to them wherever they were in the country. And finally, diversity. This was about trying to kind of create a wider network of volunteering opportunities that reflected young people's cares, passions and interests. So really focusing perhaps away from sport, starting to think about new media, virtual volunteering, creative arts, dance, music, really starting to diversify the offer for young people so that there were different ways that they could share their skills and talents to make a difference.
And so we're going to take the RERB right here, and we're getting off at Gare du Nord, and then we're taking line 2, and we're getting off at Métro Couronne. But I'll be keeping this on, so you won't lose me. Okay? Just a minute.
It's difficult to see how you can really compel people to be helpful. But if we make the opportunities attractive enough, interesting enough, powerful enough, so that young people know the impact they're making and they can see it before their very eyes, then I think there's very few who will refuse. We just heard this afternoon about French young people who work with the Ombudsman for Children, going out to where children are in schools and hospitals and helping them to understand their rights and what they can do if they're worried about people trampling on their rights. That's a very new and exciting approach.
André is in charge of the whole animation of the Café Social, of organizing the visit to the museum, organizing these photo exhibits that you can see here. There's also a cinema thing, you know, house so that people can come and watch movies, because the movies in Paris are very expensive. It's almost 10 euros to go to the movies.
Monsef l'avait dit, c'est le directeur qui va vous accueillir aujourd'hui.
Monsef is the founder and the director of Service Structure. He's the one welcoming you here today. So he took 2 years before he opened the Café Social to really take the time to talk with the elderly migrants and see really what their problems are and what were their needs, and did a lot of studying and research on this topic before opening the Café Social. Café Social is one of many possible answers to help with the problems that happen to these elderly people, and make sure that less and less stay out and have no place to go and live in very difficult situations. A lot of them are quite poor, and so this place is going to explain better, but this place is the opportunity for them to meet.
Et la distribution de repas aux sans-abri, des personnes qui sont qui sont dans une situation de précarité, soit ils ont un petit logement, soit ils sont avec une petite ressource de RMI, parce qu'en France on a le RMI, un revenu minimum d'insertion, soit les personnes ont une petite retraite, soit ils n'ont rien du tout, ils n'ont pas de travail, ils n'ont rien du tout, et surtout le problème c'est qu'ils n'ont aussi pas de papier, donc ils sont vraiment dans une situation très très précaire. Donc ça c'est la première action.
So the first action of this association is to prepare and distribute food to people who have either they have no home, they are homeless people, or they have a very low income.
But people who are here illegally cannot have that income, so they don't have anything, and they're just working like in illegal things, and they can have food here too. So that's important because there are not so many structures who can welcome people who don't have any papers, who don't have ID card. Like 30% of the people, of volunteer people here, are homeless people or people, illegal people. The people coming from Afghanistan have 20 years old. And vous avez beaucoup de retraités aussi ou pas?
Et on a 20% de retraités.
And 20% of the people are retired, because we've got a huge problem with old people in France that have low income, so becoming poorest.